So, if you're running an accounting firm, you know payroll is just part of the deal. It's a non-negotiable, right? But what if that one thing that eats up so much of your week could actually be your biggest strategic advantage? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to dig into: how to flip this obligation into a real, genuine opportunity for growth.
Okay, think about it. What's the most valuable thing your firm has? It's not your software, it's not even money, it's time. And every single day there's a tug of war for that time. Over here, you've got the high value work, right? The stuff that really moves the needle: client strategy, advisory services, the things that actually grow your business. And over on the other side, you've got the necessary evils, the low value tasks like payroll admin and data entry that just chew up hours. This is the core problem we have to solve. And that, right there, is what we call the payroll paradox. On one hand, it's absolutely critical. You cannot mess it up. The deadlines don't move, and the mistakes, they're expensive. But at the very same time, keeping it all in-house is pulling your best, most brilliant people away from the advisory work that actually makes you money and builds those solid client relationships. So what does this paradox actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon? Well, it usually pops up as these four big headaches that are, let's be honest, probably holding your firm back more than you realize. First, you've got the compliance minefield. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Federal, state, local, all these regulations are constantly changing. Just trying to keep up feels like a full-time job in itself, and the risk of taking one wrong step is just huge.
Second is the sheer grind of all that repetitive admin work. I mean, seriously, take a second and think about how many hours your most talented people are sinking into routine calculations, filings, and reports. That's expertise that could be spent on high-level client strategy, but instead it's bogged down in the nitty-gritty. And third, there's the sky-high risk of errors. And let's be real, there's no such thing as a small mistake in payroll. A simple slip-up can lead to some painful financial penalties, and honestly, what's even worse, it can just shatter the trust you've spent years building with a client. And finally, number 4, resource constraints. Your expert team is completely maxed out, especially during tax season or when you're trying to expand. Payroll becomes this massive bottleneck that's literally preventing you from scaling up and taking on those awesome new clients you want. So, how in the world do you solve this paradox and get rid of all these headaches? The answer is a pretty big strategic shift. It's about taking payroll from a chore you do in the back office and turning it into a real advantage out front. Now, just to be super clear, we're not talking about just offloading work to someone else. Strategic outsourcing is a deliberate business model. It's all about redirecting your firm's most valuable asset, your people, away from that administrative grind and pointing them directly toward the activities that are going to grow your firm. And when you make that shift, you're not just saving a few hours here and there. You're actively creating brand new capacity. Suddenly, outsourcing isn't just some expense you're trying to minimize. It becomes the actual catalyst that unlocks your firm's true potential. So what's that journey look like? Well, it's kind of like a domino effect, in a really good way. First, you outsource the routine payroll stuff. That immediately frees up your expert team. With all this newfound time and brain power, they can finally focus on those high-value advisory services. And that focus, that's what puts your firm's growth into overdrive. The benefits just ripple out from there. You get to sleep at night knowing compliance is handled, without the stress. You know processing will be accurate and on time every single time. You get a partner who can scale up with you during your busiest times. And the best part, it all integrates smoothly with the tech you already use, which means your whole operation just becomes way more efficient. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but what about the real world? It's totally natural to have some questions, so let's just jump in and tackle a couple of the biggest ones that always come up. The first one is always about the bottom line, right? Is this thing really cost-effective, or is it just going to be another expense on the books? Look, the answer is a huge yes, but it's about shifting how you think about cost. It's less of an expense and way more of an investment. For one, it means you don't have to hire more full-time admin staff as you grow. And two, it dramatically cuts down the very real risk of getting hit with those expensive penalties from compliance mistakes. Okay, next big question, what about complexity? Can an outside partner really handle that nightmare scenario of a client with employees spread out across a dozen different states? Absolutely. In fact, not only can they handle it, that's literally what they're built for. That complexity is their specialty. These expert teams live and breathe the tangled web of different state and local laws. It is their job to make sure everything is compliant, so it doesn't have to be yours.
All right, so let's bring it all home. The single biggest takeaway here is that this is way more than just making your life a little easier. It's a fundamental change in how you approach your business. The core idea is this. For any modern accounting firm that really wants to grow and thrive, outsourcing payroll isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It's a core strategic solution that unlocks efficiency, slashes risk, and frees up your amazing people to do their absolute best work. So I want to leave you with this one question to really chew on when you get back to the office. Just imagine for a second, what could your firm truly achieve if that weekly payroll grind went from being your biggest constraint to being your greatest catalyst for growth?